Now, I want you guys to take out your phones. I want you to scan this and I want you to save it. We're going to watch a video. It's not going to be that long. This video is going to be from one of my favorite lecturers of all time. He's a professor in Texas and has an entire lecture series where he talks about globalization, the positive and negative aspects of it, how philosophies, when they clash with each other, what does that look like in the environment? Humanity's technological break. There was a certain time when we were advancing like crazy and then we paused after a certain period. Why did that pause happen? And then talks about what I keep referring to as the declining marginal return on investment. We're going to talk about what that term means in just a little bit. But for now, as you're watching this, I want you to understand his main point and how it links to urban development, urban planning. If you want to take notes, great. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. And in his case, he's arguing the point that the preserver force wiped off a whole bunch of advancement for the sake of saying, hey, we're moving too fast, we're growing too quickly, we're evolving faster than what our minds are capable of understanding. What was his solution?
For the preserver force to have a softer grip.
A softer grip. Why is that important?
Because you need both to have a successful society.
Right. The philosophy of the Tao. Don't be extreme on one side. Don't be extreme on the other. Try to be as neutral as possible because navigating life will be so much easier, be so much nicer, so much more omni-inclusive. If we remove these echo chambers that we have from politics, if we slightly let go, if we slightly relax, we can have a more balanced life. I talked about philosophically in one of the earlier lectures how in order to define a productive member of society, to use productive, that means non-productive also has to exist. Opposites define one another. To say the word yes, no has to exist. And that's when we're talking about artificial intelligence, and I believe it was you who was talking about, well, there was all this fear about misuse of artificial intelligence, but we haven't gone there yet. We're using it for good. Again, to be able to define good, bad has to also exist. Whether we choose to do it for good or bad, that's up for history to tell us at some point. Aside from talking about the preserver force and the innovator force, what else did Roy talk about?
We talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Elaborate on that. What is that?
So he's pretty much talking about how back in those golden years, people had enough. They could work one job. That one job, they could have enough food, buy a house, and even send their kids to school.
Crazy.
Yeah. And being able to do all of this with the one job allowed them to think about other things.
Lecture 2, we talked about infrastructure, social structure, and megastructure. And when we're talking about what defines the good life, you can only reach that point once your basic needs are set. If you feel safe, if you feel you're not going to go hungry tomorrow, that your family is not going to go hungry tomorrow, it gives you opportunity to think of the bigger pictures. The last thing that he talks about was education. That's what stood out to me the most. And it's why we have discussions like this. It's why having you guys do those drawings, so I'm rewiring your brain so you can try to think of things in different perspectives. It's why when you're reading these articles, when you're watching the media, and you're writing down, this is what I understood, I agree or disagree with this, and this is how it affects our civilization, we're doing what I concur with him about is our level of education is more of like one person's talking, I'm regurgitating all this stuff. I give you a test, you go, okay, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Okay, we're done. Next up. And we're trying to avoid that to have a more interactive sense of education. So when I mentioned in the very beginning, or not beginning, right before the video started, what declining marginal return on investment is. The first day of class, I ended up talking to you guys about the idea of how a child can eat a lot less food than an adult, yet have a lot more energy to do a whole bunch of stuff. Whereas an adult can eat a whole meal, can do all the stretches, do all these exercises. Then when it's time to do an activity, will perform a lot less because they're later on in life. Every architect who has a big name says, this is how a city should look like. Behind me, first one is The Ideal City by Ludwig. A movie came out, I forgot what it's called, and I don't know the name of the actors. It's some romantic story where it's a typical guy meets girl, guy falls in love with the girl says, yep, I live right over here. She takes him up. He says, hold on, I need to grab something real quick. He comes down, he goes, grabs whatever he wants to grab, and then when he arrives at the building, because everything is uniform, he goes, which building is her building? And was just stuck there and never got a chance to ever see her again. So that type of interaction, it matters. If I live somewhere over here and I say, all right, guys, we're going to have a classroom get together, barbecue, blah, blah. I am the 37th building going this way and the 17th building going that way. I'm on the 13th floor, but you have to take 2 lefts and then a right, not 2 rights and then a left, which most people tend to do. You guys are going to be like, what the heck? No, never mind. We're okay. Well, let's just meet at a park nearby. But then again, there are no parks. So you see what I mean? Every time an architect comes up with an idea of saying, okay, well, we got to stack for density, without knowing that they're creating a dystopian society because we want to avoid conformity. We need to avoid having a copy and paste template. The precede housing. This is one of humanity's worst failures. Because of this copy and paste template and going up on one side, moving and then going down, that form of architecture created gangs within that entire neighborhood. The drugs went up, skyrocketed. Police were going left and right. Deaths, overdoses, prostitution was created when it never existed there to begin with. And so they ended up demolishing the entire thing, wrote it off, and hopefully learned from that. Transportation, movement. Whether or not, if you feel hungry, that you can walk out of your house and conveniently and easily find a place to eat, to drink coffee, to meet up with a friend. Transportation was one of the ways that divided the people. In many cases, to say, hey, listen, we have a group of Latin American people here and we have a group of African American people here. It's important that we divide them and have them interact as least as possible. So let's widen these roads as much as we can. Don't add bridges because why would you want them to easily interact with one another? And then just have a highway that's super loud. Not only that, but if this is the path for our highway, let's have all the low-income housing be right next to where all the noise is and all the pollution is. This has happened obviously in Los Angeles. This has happened in the Bay Area. And San Diego's next up on that list. We're inviting all these people to come to San Diego when our infrastructure is not set for that. We're experiencing traffic now that we didn't have 20 years ago. 5 years from now, after the $1 billion that we're investing in our airport to tell the world, come to San Diego, the traffic that we're all experiencing right now, this trouble in finding parking that we're having trouble with now, how much worse is it going to get? We know that it's wrong. And even after us knowing that this is the worst type of design possible, we still end up graduating and working for companies that continue on this narrative. So the purpose of classrooms like this is for you guys to think and say, I know that working on this project will get me paid a lot of money, but it's not the right thing to do, so I'm going to choose to say no. We talked briefly about the decimation of migration paths, something that when we climbed up the mountain, we had a firsthand exposure of how many species of animals are around us at all times in nature. For us to create sprawl, ecosystems had to be decimated completely. Migration paths had to stop. Deer that have migrated for hundreds, if not thousands of years, can no longer stop for water because we've not only built architecture around it, but we're also consuming that water as well. On the physical health, again, we talked about how when we make everything a more car-centric environment, we're creating more pollution. We're heating up the environment further with that. Mental health, this is another thing. If young children don't have the ability to express their personality, to have an environment where they go, I feel kind of good about this, but we sterilize it with mundane colors, having that perception that you don't matter or that if you were to disappear, there's someone else who's exactly like you. It's not a way that will optimize a person's state of mind so that they could perform to the best of their ability to be a happy member of society and contribute in the best way possible. We need to know that we're valued and that we matter. If nature offers us no home, we will then clear and rearrange a space for ourselves. We take on nature as an opponent to be subdued for the sake of civilization. Again, win lose philosophy. If someone wins, someone has to lose. If we as a species win, that means other species have to lose. Now, this is the part that I find to be the most depressing. A fellow student recorded this and she sent this to me. This is her actual balcony. And in the area where rent is super expensive, it's not low income housing. Her balcony, where if she wants to sit down, relax, take a deep breath, read a book, anyone going up that stairs is going to have this awkward eye contact with her going, oh, hey, neighbor, how's it going? Or if someone's going in and out of the house, not one, not two, but 1, 2, 3, 4, as soon as they step out of their house to do whatever it is they need to do, they're going to have this awkward, oh, hey, I know you're having your private time right now, but cool, have a wonderful day. Who wants that, right? Even restrooms. And in my thesis, I also talked about the worst case scenario in San Diego, where we have 3-story high buildings next to 3-story high buildings, and we just literally copy paste or mirror the structures next to each other. So we have a bathroom window facing another bathroom window. We have a bedroom window facing another bedroom window. If you don't feel that you have a safe space to truly be yourself, you'll act differently than someone else who does experience that. But there are always deep implications to any action that's out there, whether we're familiar with it immediately or if we've had history to aid us into realizing certain things. What we see over here in between the two brackets is my hopefully succinct attempt to show if-then statements. If we have higher density, we're going to have taller buildings. If we have taller buildings, we'll have less aesthetically pleasing views. Who here has ever had a point in their life where they were so frustrated they needed to step out and take a deep breath? Almost all of us, I'd assume. I can tell you for sure I'm one of those people. But then I learned if you open the door, you step out, and you walk around, taking a deep breath. Okay, I'm so frustrated that this event happened. If you take that away and you have less aesthetically pleasing views so that you can't even look out the window and see greenery or water, but you're looking at the wall of another apartment or into the apartment of someone else, how will that affect you? When we have less aesthetically pleasing views, eventually you have a more introverted society. You have people that don't want to go out as often. You have people who willingly say, I would rather work from home. I don't need friends because people suck. I can't even go to a park nearby because all we have are another tall building. And if I do find one, how long do I have to drive through traffic? And then after I drive through traffic, how long is it going to take me to find parking? You know what? Screw that. I'm just going to stay at home. I'm an introvert. You work from home, you fall asleep at home, you use the apps to order food so that someone brings you food to your home. You're a high-end prisoner. Like, how is that not prison? The food might be better, sure, right? You still have the autonomy where you can open the door, step out and go like, ah, another high-rise right there, cool. You can't do that quite in prison, right? Less violence probably, hopefully. But then the more introverted a society becomes, and especially with time being a factor, the wider the disconnection is, the lonelier people are. Who here has ever met someone in public, or if you worked in retail, I could guarantee you've had at least one customer. You're the employee, I'm the customer. Let's say you're selling, pick a product, anything. Clothes, awesome. So I come in. My great grandmother, she just got cancer and she's like 2 weeks away from passing away. My cousin is experiencing this thing and they also got laid off. Can you believe how people are getting laid off like crazy? People can't also even afford anything anymore. And life is just so frustrating because the other day I was dating this girl and this person who's talking nonstop has no other avenue to release their frustrations in their daily life. So us being strangers and I'm releasing all this private information that you don't want to know. If someone is talking nonstop and they're not reading the room or having these social rules, was like, hey, I know you're working on the clock. Maybe you're getting paid commission, maybe not. So I'm going to be mindful of your time. Having loneliness be a factor and talking your ear off nonstop is a byproduct of a society that's not designed properly. And then, of course, all that leads to a higher state of depression. If people can't find themselves and fall in love with who they are as an individual, and you make that on a massive scale, civil unrest is just a step away. Just a slight disclaimer because this is super important for me to mention. If you guys do feel that there is no way out, please seek resources and understand that you have value, you are always going to be missed, and you matter. Let's continue the song. We're almost done. Our state as a civilization. We've officially hit our breaking down of our society, of our civilization on a global scale. The Egyptians went through that, the Greeks went through that, the Romans went through that, the Abbasid Empire went through that, the Ottomans went through that, the Chinese, every dynasty had a breakdown moment. And when that breakdown happened, uncountable number of people disappeared. And we're heading in that same path. We're now declining. And these statistics are proof of our state of being. They're estimating that depression globally will be the leading contributor to the global disease burden by 2030. So in 6 years, it's not going to be obesity that's holding us back. It's our state of mind going, I'm sad. But then that's global, not just the United States. In the United States, it's actually not 50%. I don't know if it ever reached 50%, but the chance of you finding a partner who you go, hey, they're freaking awesome. They're my best compliment. They make me the better version of myself than I could have ever imagined. You have a 43% chance of divorcing them at some point and experiencing that heartache. But not only that, the majority of people who spend time and money to go to an education, only 27% of them actually ever work in the field that they dedicated their lives to understanding and learning. Last but not least, even if everything is going well in terms of debt on a global scale, globally, we're 238% in debt, meaning our total global GDP, how much wealth we have 238% more that we owe. No one wants that deficiency. If you have a certain quantity of food and you have 230% more hunger than the amount of food that you're putting in, you're dying. And in our sense, because again, debts and the monetary system, again, all it is a belief system. It's because of all of us agreeing that this piece of paper has some form of value and it can get you something. That belief system is the fabric that's holding us. We want to last as a species. We want to have children who have children who have children who have children. We want to take our metaphorical baton and say, younger generation, here you go. This is what we did with reality. We hope you do a better job at it. We are now in the process of receiving this baton and recreating reality so that we can pass that on to the next generation, I hope. When we talk about the fear of the unknown versus the comfort of the danger you're in, again, frog in the boiling pot kind of deal, the fear of the unknown, even though it can be an exponentially better future, well, what if it's not? What if we go dystopian route instead? What if we all end up killing one another? We know this is the path that will take us to killing one another no matter what, but maybe it'll be different this time, even though we're doing the same process. Einstein, I think, is quoted for saying, Insanity is the act of doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. So we seem to be stuck into that.
So with say that they're expanding the San Diego airport.
Yep.
Okay, so there's gonna be a big influx of people. So how would you fix like this? How can we accommodate for that rapid change?
If in your mind you have a definition of success, and that can be anything, if your definition of success as a nurse is to save as many people as possible, you're going to open more books. You're going to expose yourself to more situations where you can figure out the solution. You'll know the template, how to get those answers, even though you don't know what the answer is, and do it as quickly as possible. But to answer your question in terms of San Diego, if we're if we're expanding our airport, we're keeping our narrow streets, we're not adding any parking, that means our definition of success is densify, increase the total quantity of people, cram everyone so that when we're so close to each other, I cannot sneeze without sneezing on someone or without bumping into someone. While we have loads of room available, it's our definition of success. So if we change that and we say, hey, success is more about focusing on the person rather than cheap environment with maximized profit, that'll be the first step to do that. But to have that conversation, we need a more intelligent leadership team. How do we get a more intelligent leadership team? By having more discussions in classrooms like this so that we become those leaders. And we say, okay, I know that you're afraid of what the future might hold, but by combining psychology with philosophy, with culture, and sure, if we're going to choose to continue the idea of a monetary system, that belief system, then we can add that in a way so that everyone benefits in some way.